Hello, everyone. Today we are talking about transformations and compositions. So, our composition symbol is this open circle that's in between. Now, our transformations are capital T is a translation. This is just our notations. Lowercase r is a reflection, and it's always going to give you the line of reflection down here. So y equals x. This will give you the vector down below. And then a rotation is capital R. Now with rotations, if it's a positive degree, it's counterclockwise. Negative degree, it's clockwise. Now, when we have our composition symbol, the important thing is we read those transformations backwards then. We go from right to left. So find the image of triangle TEX under the transformation. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to plot TEX. So -5, 2, -1, 3, and -2, 1. So there's our triangle TEX. Now, our transformation composition, we always go from right to left when it's given using the composition symbol. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to translate by 0 and -5. So that means T prime is -5, -3. E prime is -1, -2. And X prime is -2, -4. Or we just go down 5. So T prime, 3. E prime, -1, -2. And X prime is -2, -4. Next, we're going to reflect over the line Y over the y-axis. So when we reflect over the y-axis, recall we change the sign of the x coordinate. Our rule is that it becomes -a, comma b. So T double prime is 5, -3. E double prime is 1, -2. And X double prime is 2, -4. And that is our composition of transformations. Now, there is a special composition, which is called a glide reflection. It's the composition of a translation and a reflection across a line parallel to the direction of the translation. So what we actually just did up here, this composition was a glide reflection because our translation was going down and then we reflect over the y-axis, which is parallel to that translation. So yes, the translation vector and line of reflection are parallel. So, number 3. In the diagram, A prime, B prime, C prime is a transformation of ABC. And A double prime, B double prime, C double prime is a transformation of A prime, B prime, C prime. The composition transformation of the original to the final is an example. So when we went from ABC, we translated, and then we reflected over the y-axis. So it's not a glide reflection because our translation vector is not parallel to the y-axis. However, it is a reflection or a translation followed by a reflection. We translated, then reflected. So it's choice 4. So I want you to pause, and I want you to try number 4. So there you can see that I used my rule for the y-axis, or over the line y equals x, which is to flip the x and y coordinate, or b comma a. And I made the points 1, 3, 4, 0, and 3, negative 5, but I never actually plotted those. I then used the rule on the x-axis, which is a comma negative b. So I used the a prime point, and I got the 1, negative 3, 4, 0, and 3, 5. So now we need to talk about orientation. So orientation is whether you go counterclockwise or clockwise. And reflections reverse orientation. Reflections are the only one that reverse orientation. Now, what we're actually talking about here is if we go from A, B, C in our original, you see that we're going counterclockwise. So in my new one, again, if I go from A prime, B prime, C prime, I'm going counterclockwise, which did not reverse orientation. But remember, we did a double reflection. So double reflection, orientation remains the same. But in a single reflection, the orientation reverses. So rigid motion with the same orientation, pre-image and image are congruent and have the same orientation. So that is always a translation or a rotation or a double reflection. Rigid motion with opposite orientation is a single reflection. Match each image, or a glide reflection actually, because that still is a single reflection. Match each image of the figure at the left with one of the following. So I want you to pause and label A, B, C, and D. So the reflection is A. The translation is, or first one's a reflection. Excuse me. Second one is the translation. Third one's our rotation. And the fourth one is our glide reflection. So I want you to pause and I want you to do questions 6 through 10 and come back and check. So number 6, I colored those two in purple, and that's reflection over the line CD. 7 is a rotation, and that would be about the point J, or the origin. 8 is a glide reflection, where I translated to the right and then reflected over the x-axis. And 9 is the translation, and that's from the non-colored one back to our original purple one. Number 10, to go from A, B, C, D, E here, I would do a line reflection followed by a translation. I would reflect over the imaginary x-axis and then translate to the right. So that's the end of our video for today. If you have any questions, please ask me tomorrow in class.